Welcome back to Yang Daily. I'll be your host, Alex Cheney, bringing you all the Yang news you need to live your life right. A lot of stuff about Republicans today. I swear I am trying as hard as I can to not be partisan, truly. I want this podcast to be welcoming to people of all ideologies, but there is a difference between being nonpartisan and bashing the parties equally. The latter is just being biased toward creating an illusion of equality between them. The former is calling out what needs attention. And let's just say the Republican Party is engaging in a lot of attention-seeking behavior right now. But I'm always open to criticism. If anyone thinks I'm being unfair, let me know on Twitter or at YangDailyPodcast@gmail.com. Anyway, on to the news. Trump announced today that he is immediately sending federal law enforcement of every agency into Chicago in response to the rash of shootings. This will be the same mix deployed in Portland. Trump also says the same will be done soon in Albuquerque and other cities. Once again, it is being done against the express wishes of the local authorities, who say that makes it unconstitutional. If it goes anything like Portland, we can expect to see crime explode around the country as Trump's domestic invasion sparks rebellion, creating a wedge issue for him to campaign around as a distraction from his overwhelming failures of leadership with the virus. Trump also released a Facebook ad to this purpose, which pictured civilians attacking a police officer. Only problem is, the picture wasn't from the US. It was from Ukraine, which was pretty obvious from the patch on the officer's arm. It is, of course, from Russia's invasion and occupation of Ukraine, an action which most of the world, including the United States, denounced. Specifically, it was a pro-democracy protest. So we now have Trump, in his own ads, implicating himself as a fascist. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. In the same briefing from the law enforcement announcements, Trump also blamed Democrats for the outsourcing of jobs and claimed he will be bringing jobs back home, basically adopting Biden's own recent manufacturing plan. If this lands with anyone, it will be in spite of history, as Trump made the same claims in the primary, yet has done nothing of the sort in 4 years. In fact, he hasn't even managed to support American jobs with his own business dealings, as almost all of Trump's products are made overseas. Pokes a bit of a hole in those promises. It should also be noted that isolationist policy and rhetoric is yet another dictator red flag. So watch yourself here too, Biden. Every authoritarian in history attempted to cut their country off from the rest of the world in trade, in immigration, in diplomacy, and so on, which is entirely concordant with Trump so far. Ted Cruz yesterday gave us a look into the mind of our leaders when he revealed that the only possible reason he can imagine anyone would support giving unemployed people extra income or social distancing during a pandemic is if they're trying to make Republicans look bad for the upcoming election by bringing down the employment numbers. Specifically, this was in reference to the bonus UI. Now, this reveals a number of things about Ted Cruz. Either he is lying to push the very same partisan BS he accuses the Democrats of, or he actually believes this, meaning that he doesn't understand how the economy works and also doesn't understand how empathy works. You don't revive the economy in a pandemic when the virus is running rampant and consumption is depressed because people are too afraid to leave their homes to be customers by cutting off income to try and starve people out of their homes and into the job market. Moreover, we already presented you with a clearly better option in UBI, which addresses your concerns without destroying the economy and people's lives, and you continue to ignore it. This is the mentality that is running our country. Another great video clip with narration by Gerald Huff and animation by I Wish I Knew Who breaks down the relation between automation and economics to as simple as it gets. It's very brief and a good watch and probably good to share. Yang had a 5-minute interview on CNN yesterday that I wanted to point out. While there's really nothing new in this interview, I do think Yang did an excellent job addressing why payroll taxes are a bad move, why UBI would be better, and why Trump is trying so hard to push the China virus narrative. It's a good one to spread around. David Vargas put together a great compilation article that walks through how he went from a major skeptic of UBI to being completely convinced, mainly by Scott's articles. He runs through every major objection he had to UBI, links to the article of Scott's that convinced him otherwise, and gives a brief summary of what changed his mind and his new understanding. It's probably the best single source to send someone to when they are skeptical of UBI because it's easy to read and understand, and it addresses all the major concerns. Highly recommend reading and bookmarking this one. Finally, Scott wrote a new letter to Congress that you can send by texting sign TMSGEO to ResistBot at 50409. Code and number in the links, of course. The new letter is a heated one that viciously lays into both parties for their negligence of duty during the pandemic. It's a good read. Take a minute to send it their way. And that'll do it for today's Yang Daily. Read, share, and bookmark the UBI objections article. Send Scott's letter to Congress. Help recruit other organizations to the cause and get everyone to sign the UBI petitions. Flood Congress and Trump with calls, tweets, and letters using the ResistBot or Income Movement easy contacts below. If you need financial help, consult Humanity Forward, the Income Movement Aid Database, United Way, or the H3 podcast thread. And don't forget to Yang Daily.